This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Everyone has moments in life they can't just stop thinking about. They can be embarrassing things, like that one time you face planted in front of a group of teenagers, or something amazing like the first time you hosted your family for the holidays. And on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, hosted by me, Keke Palmer, and presented by BMW, we know to savor the good memories and let go of the bad. And one thing everyone remembers fondly is their first time behind the wheel of a BMW. So come join me and BMW this summer as we explore pop culture moments and topics you just can't stop thinking about on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. Credit scores, down payments, interest rates. Car buying can be a numbers game, but you don't have to be a math expert to get the keys to your dream car. Just use Kelley Blue Book My Wallet on AutoTrader. Crunch your numbers and get your personalized results so you know exactly how much you'll pay each month for your car. It's like having a magic wand for your wallet. Presto! The car you've been wanting is now within reach. So hit the road and leave your calculator at home. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
Hey everyone, it's Todd. I wanted to take a moment to share something that's pretty personal. This year's been incredibly stressful, and some of you may have noticed that I've sort of pulled back a bit from the Facebook groups and Discord, and I sort of want to talk about why that is. Shortly after Natalie and I returned from the UK, where we got engaged, right around the time that Mikey was leaving the show, Natalie's father was also diagnosed with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. And Natalie and I have been together for 6 years. And in that time, I've come to know her dad as this kind, loving father. And this diagnosis has obviously been devastating for us and, of course, Natalie's family. In addition to the emotional toll, the cost of the disease is overwhelming. And Natalie and I have been traveling down nearly every week, Natalie even more so, to help with his appointments because her mom can't lift him and he can't walk on his own. And so it's dangerous for her to try and get him to these appointments on her own. She just can't without putting herself at risk. The cost of this disease has already been astronomical, and Natalie's parents have spent tens of thousands of dollars in everything from treatment to home renovations to make the home safe and wheelchair accessible. If ALS has touched your or a loved one's life, you know that these expenses never end, and Natalie's parents similarly are burning through their retirement that Natalie's dad spent 47 years building that they were meant to live on for the rest of their lives. So Natalie and her sister have set up a GoFundMe to help sort of offset some of the costs. And if you're able to, I'd be incredibly grateful if you consider donating or sharing the link. It's in the show notes for this episode. It's also in all of our link trees. We'll link to it as well. Or if you want to just go to GoFundMe and you can search for Help Dan Kirk. The full title of the GoFundMe is actually Help Dan Kirk, who is Natalie's dad. Help Dan Kirk with ALS medical expenses. Please know that your support will mean the world to us. And thank you so much for being a part of this awesome community that's already given us so much. And I really do hope you enjoy this episode. It goes places. This is a crazy movie. This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we'll be hanging out daily.
Tuning into Horror Virgin, I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, including this one, and you guys make me watch them. And this week, Paige made me watch a movie that made me Google, does M. Night Shyamalan just hate gay people? And that movie is Knock at the Cabin.
I don't think he does, but I think that he doesn't understand that this movie might imply otherwise.
This movie, in fact, does imply otherwise. It's shockingly tone deaf to any other message it might be trying to make. And it could have easily made like man, aren't people that are religious to this level like crazy? But instead of that, it says, aren't people that are crazy to this level right?
That's my problem with, okay.
And it's Rose. I hated it. Anyway, Paige, please you rage now.
First of all, the text I sent you at 2 a.m. my time, 4 a.m. your time, just said, yo, with 16 O's.
It was so many O's, guys. Yeah. When I woke up an hour later because my dogs won't let me sleep past 5, I was like, okay, well, I haven't watched this movie yet, but that's not a good sign.
Yo with 16 O's. And then this movie might be dumber than The Happening. Because here's the thing. M. Night, always known for a twist. My favorite twist in this movie is him selling that air fryer. But the main twist in this movie is just that, like, the apocalypse is real. And I would have been so much more compelled if it had not been real. And if they had just been people suffering a shared delusion, that would have been a way more interesting movie. And I know this is maybe a personal beef. I am aware that the apocalypse features into multiple religions, not just Christianity. But if you're going to use the like descriptors tied to Christianity, and then you're going to be like, they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and then you get those 4 wrong, they don't understand the 4 horsemen. I'm so upset. Like when the movie reveals that that's what this is supposed to be, and then they just make up a different 4, I lost my fucking mind. If you're unclear, the 4 are conquest, war, famine, and death.
Wait, are you sure it's not Dave Bautista, Ron Weasley, and the other 2 ladies who I hadn't seen in anything else, but did great?
They do fine, but they give them names like they represent nurturing and whatever, and I have it in my notes. It's like all the parts of humanity that we love. I was like, no. The 4 horsemen are bad things. Like conquering power, bloody war, famine, and pestilence, and death.
No, in this movie, they're liberal things. I'm surprised one of them wasn't just the horsemen of woke. Like, I literally had to Google, is M. Night Shyamalan a crazy Republican? Like, I Googled so many crazy things trying to find out if M. Night was like a huge bigot.
I don't think so.
I couldn't find anything either way, and I would assume if he was, there would be people writing about it. So I assume not.
Yeah.
But
no, I just think this movie is tone deaf.
Yes.
And I think it's trying to be inclusive and representative of a bunch of things and just does it pretty wrong. Like, because the gay couple in the movie is represented as loving and caring about each other and a wonderful family to the most adorable little girl on the face of the earth.
I know, she's awesome.
And so it's like forcing them to kill one of the other.
Paige,
I was just like,
literally is positing that the cause of the apocalypse is gays being allowed to have families and adopt and like get married. And then in order to stop the apocalypse, we have to punish them by making them decide which one of them they will kill, thereby forever fracturing their family unit. Because if they kill either George III or his side piece, like that destroys the family unit. If they kill the child, that also destroys the family unit is gone. So like it is like so blatantly like this dude hates gays being able to adopt at least.
Except I don't think it is because he's like, I know that that's what's on the screen and that is how it comes off. I don't think that's how it was intended because in the movie, they talk about, they're like, I think they chose you because your love of your family's so pure. And I'm like, why? Like, why that? There's literally the mythology of this movie is so vague and weird that like, none of it makes sense. It's a hot mess of weird soup. And it's just, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. This movie is everywhere at once. And again, I don't think the original intention was to be like gay people having families ends the earth, but that is certainly what the movie does.
That is 1,000% what the movie tells us, yes. And I know it's like a movie or whatever, and I always say we have to live in the world the movie creates for us. So in M. Night Shyamalan's world that he created in Knock in the Cabin, the apocalypse starts because gays can marry and have families. Like, that is just the world that he created.
It does posit that the apocalypse has been going for a long time and there have been many other families that have had to make this choice. And that it's always one family holding off the apocalypse. We don't get that till the very fucking end. Because, again, none of this makes any sense. And it's all painted in, like, paint by numbers Christianity, but all of the numbers are wrong. I don't know. I was so baffled. And here's the other thing. So many people saw this movie in theaters. I did not.
I clearly didn't either. This is my first time.
Now one of them was like, hey, it made me feel kind of weird that they made this gay couple kill each other. And I was like, what? Like, nobody said that. Everyone was like, no one's questioning a giant muscle man in the middle of the woods. And I'm like, no, the woods is the one place I wouldn't question it. But like, what?
Yeah.
In my mind, here's how this went down. Here's why I don't necessarily think that this is intentionally homophobic. It is accidentally super homophobic.
Yeah.
Because the way I picture this coming to fruition is somebody wanted to write a home invasion movie, which is almost always families, right?
Yeah. It's either families or college co-eds going to on vacation. Yeah.
Regardless, it's multiple people.
Yes.
And you would never get college co-eds to agree to kill each other. It's got to be families. Got to be people that love each other enough to maybe kill one of them to save the rest of them. Okay, families. And then they're like, oh, what if it's you have to pick somebody to die for the apocalypse, but is it a shared delusion or is it real? Ha, 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 it's real. And they're like, oh, you know what? It's a gay couple. Like at the end, they were like, how do I make this different from Funny Games and any number of other home invasion movies? I got it. Gay couple. There you go. But like, the mythology is not clearly defined enough for me to come down on it either way and be like, yeah, this is believable or not, or why is the like it's like why do they have to kill each other? It's just like, oh, God says so. Can you show me the message? Like something. I would need way more proof. I'm on the side of, is it Eric or Andrew that doesn't believe?
So King George III definitely believes at the end,
It's
which
the
is
other
fucking
guy.
gross. It's Andrew. Andrew is, I forget his name, Jonathan.
I don't remember, but
Yeah.
Andrew, because he's like, this is a previous broadcast that earthquake started hours ago. Like everything he brings up, including the fact that one of the group is a guy who brutally attacked him for being gay. We see it in the movie. Like,
yeah, it was Ron Weasley. They show us. He gets the shit kicked
show
out of him
us.
by Ron Weasley. I mean, he doesn't get kicked. He gets hit in the head twice with a beer bottle, right?
that can kill you.
Yeah,
Yes.
that could kill you. Yeah, no. I just said kicked and I wanted to actually tell him what it was, but like,
Yeah. So like all of these pieces to his case that it's not real are valid until he goes outside and you watch a plane fall out of the sky. And I was furious because what would have been so much more interesting would have been to find out that, yes, it was planned to hurt them. But instead, this movie almost wants to scream, no one actually wants to hurt you because you're gay. And if you're mad about people hurting you because you're gay, it's your problem. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
It very much
What?
felt like the religious right doesn't hate the LGBT community because of their lifestyle.
We're just trying to prevent the apocalypse.
They're just trying to kill them because it will help prevent the apocalypse.
The
Like, I
apocalypse.
don't know, like, how you go in the edit bay with this specific thing in mind and come out with, like, what are you doing, M. Night?
I don't know.
This movie, The Happening, like, they have made me believe that M. Night is a bad movie director, bad creator that got lucky twice early in his career and that people keep backing up a truck full of money to. And I don't understand it at this point.
Here's my thing. The first two, Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, are fucking incredible.
They're
They
some
are
of the
truly
best
fucking
movies.
incredible.
They're so good.
They're so good.
But were those studio notes?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because they were his first two big budget movies, right? And that's typically when you get noted to death as a new director.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a case of like there's no one giving notes or there's no editor or whatever, because like it's still Prince money. This movie made a lot of money.
It
Like,
did.
so at a certain point, like if he keeps bringing money in, you can't argue with it. I think a lot of the people I know are hesitant to see his new movies because of the track record.
Yeah.
But I also know that some people have gone back and watched other ones and been like, they aren't as bad as I remember. This one, I don't think would hold up to a rewatch. First of all, fuck all happens in this movie. This episode could be 20 minutes long. It's not going to be. We're going to have to scream about stuff, I'm pretty sure.
I'm going to be screaming a lot in this episode. I'm so sorry, guys.
But there's like not much that actually happens.
It is largely a single location movie with occasionally a Family Guy cutaway to something that will never pay off. There's a lot of like, oh, there's some weirdness with the parents. I wonder if that ever gets resolved. Oh, wait. They lied to adopt the kid? That never gets resolved. Like there's
you have to, yeah.
There's like so many like cutaways that don't really do much story-wise, except for maybe establish them as like a nice, good, great couple and family.
Yeah, well, and they don't paint Andrew in the best light because they paint him as someone with a temper, somebody who holds grudges, and all of that seems to play into like why he doesn't believe at the end. And I'm like, this man has every reason to not believe in the end.
This
like
man who has been assaulted by one of the attackers in the past.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I wouldn't believe fucking anything they said. I would literally be waiting for them to kill themselves in front of me. And then I would just walk out. And if it was real, and we are now the last three on the earth, cool. We must have been the meek motherfuckers because we inherited this bitch and it's ours now. Or it's fine. We just watched four people kill themselves. We need a lot of therapy, clearly, but we're fine.
I mean, I would kill for a 10 Cloverfield Lane version of this.
Oh, you mean a good version of this? Me too.
Yes.
It could have been, with a few subtle changes, really good.
This could have been terrifying and good with a 10 Cloverfield Lane rewrite of like, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, but they're more trapped and they're not sure, and then it is real, or it is not real. Like, either one is scary because that's the question of the movie.
I do feel like 10 Cloverfield Lane does confirm it's real at the end.
It does. It does.
It is because the dinosaur, it's not dinosaur, but the monster comes out, right? The
aliens.
Shows up at the end. But it doesn't change the fact that John Goodman in that movie was like an opportunist and he was doing terrible shit.
Yes.
You know, largely because the apocalypse in that movie allowed him to do it. He was always a bad dude.
Right.
But the apocalypse gave him the reason to do that. And this would have been cool if that had been sort of the message too, if these were just four fucking like religious bigots. And I realize not all people are that level of religious. That's not what I'm saying. But like they got like radicalized in this one specific message board, decided to meet up and do this thing.
Right.
And they used the cover of like, I don't know, an electromagnetic storm making the planes fall to the sky or whatever as this is the apocalypse. Now we have to convince them to kill themselves.
Other than what a fucked up story that would be. I'm still unclear as to any other reason why they need to kill themselves. It's not clear in the mythology. None of it's clear. You remember in The Happening where we were like, I feel like this movie uses suicide for shock value.
Well, it does.
I feel like this movie kind of does the same, where it's just like, how fucked up is that? You gotta kill people. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess, but only because you've engineered such a weird story to make them do it, and you haven't made it clear why. I haven't received one good reason why anyone should kill themselves or anyone else in this movie, except that sometimes they turn on the news and bad things happen. And I'm like, look, we've all been there, but we shouldn't kill ourselves because of the news.
I fully would not have given a shit about the news. Up through the point where Dave Bautista rehearsed the lines that the anchor on the news channel says. I'd be like, well, I don't know what you guys have done to this TV that has a DVD player plugged into it.
And they don't check it.
Whatever. I've been tied up for 2 days. So like, I don't give a shit, bro. Kill yourself.
I've been tied up for 2 days. He's fucking concussed. Like nobody, and at no point are they like, check the TV, because they're controlling the TV. They're putting it on whatever specific channel. You could be casting it from wherever. No investigation goes into this. In fact, they don't even look at Ron Weasley's driver's license until literally the last 10 minutes of the fucking movie.
But we knew it was him. We knew. But even the way they shoot that scene, because he's like, they say his beard was different. He was a little bit heavier, and he is in that scene.
Yes. Yeah. It throws you off a little bit, but it is definitely him.
It does. And they confirm it though when they show the ID. But it's like, ooh, could it be him? Or was it just another like Brit here pretending to have an American accent, hitting and beating up gay people in bars?
Or the question is, has the trauma of that night made him so triggered in this moment that he ascribes that to somebody confronting him.
Oh.
But no, it is the guy.
Yeah, no, I think that's what they're playing with, but they do confirm it is actually the guy, and Andrew was right to hate him or suspect him maybe or whatever.
Yes, and I would feel a little better if the mythology was more clearly defined, because it's just like, you guys got to kill yourselves. Why? God said so. And I was like, show it to me. Like, anything. Before I murder a person, I'm going to need more than your word. And the fact that Andrew was like, I need more evidence than this. This is crazy. And they're like, what an asshole. Guess we got to start killing ourselves. Like, that's insane. Any rational person would need more evidence. Like, this is nuts.
There's no level of evidence you could give me under this situation that I would believe. Not that they went about it the wrong way. Like, I don't know if you would ask me to, like, hey, go to that cabin in the woods and convince one of the family members to kill another family member. I'd be like, well, fuck, I can't, I won't be able to achieve that goal, so I'm going to step away from this cult and never come back.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this message board.
Yeah. Man, 4chan got weird, right, guys? Like,
Right? We should go over to 8kun. But the amount of evidence I need is the evidence Andrew gets in the end, and even then he resists. And it is the, like, planes falling out of the sky, lightning striking everywhere. Like, the world is falling apart.
Right?
Like, that's the amount I need to be like, oh shit. I mean, if we kill one of us, does it stop? I volunteer because I don't want to live through this part. Like, that's what I would need to do this. Not just Dave Bautista being like, I've got 14 monologues in this movie and you're gonna let me get through all of them.
I honestly, okay, I've only seen Dave Bautista in acting roles where he's either in it for like 30 seconds, it's like a cameo sort of a thing, or he's playing the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love him so much in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Me too. I think he's great, but he's super one note. So I'm not like Dave Bautista's a great actor because I saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I was a little surprised how well he did in this movie. I don't think he's amazing.
No.
But like, remember, I've only seen him do that guy from Guardians who's one note all the time.
Sure.
I think his name's Drax.
Drax.
Yeah.
Drax. Them sklounced. I would say I do think he did a good job in this movie. I think casting him in this movie is a little strange because I think they're trying to play on the like, oh, he's a coach. And I'm like, well, he's a coach for children. Like, this man is still...
He's second grade? A second grade, like, PE teacher?
Second grade PE
This man
teacher?
looks like he eats second graders. Like, literally.
On protein days.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. He still looks fresh out of the wrestling ring. And now there is something incredibly endearing, and I will give it to them on this, something incredibly endearing of a big man who is also soft.
He is.
And who is like, he cares so much about those kids. He cares about her. He doesn't want this to have to happen. And he does great at that. I will give him his flowers there. It's just, the whole thing is strange. Like, it's a bunch of people giving good performances in the strangest morality play ever.
Yeah. That Jonathan Goff, whose name I forgot earlier, but Jonathan Goff, who I've been calling King George III because that was who he played in Hamilton.
We understood.
But yeah, man, he's great in everything.
Sure.
He crushes it in this movie. I think you said it a little bit earlier. I think everyone acts so well in this movie.
Right.
Even the two ladies who I said I'd never seen before, like, they're both great in it too.
Oh, the nurse is incredible.
Man,
yeah.
at the beginning when they were like trying to break into the house and she's like, I'm a nurse, I can help him. I was like, is rural healthcare suffering that much that they have to go and create their own insurance billable issues? Like, what is happening? Anyway, but she does a great job too. You're right. I don't know. I just felt bad for all of them because the script is terrible.
Yes. I mean, her monologue about, I didn't go to church, I don't believe in this, but then this happened to me, and that's supposed to convince people. It is implied, but they never say it out loud. Like, they get so close to saying it and not saying it. It's implied that Jonathan Groff's character is religious. and like
Yeah.
believes.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think he is not atheist.
Yeah, they don't come down one way or another.
Yeah. But I think because of that, and probably because of the concussion, when he sees that light, he's like, oh my
Yes.
God, this might be real or whatever.
Yes. At least he is more predisposed to believing it.
Sure.
Which to me was why I was like, this story would be better if it was not true. Like, if it was a shared delusion, and this is how that influence can play on your mind, especially if you have a pre-existing belief system that allows for some of this. And like, they do nothing with that other than to be like, he was right the whole time and he knows what the sacrifice should be. Like, it's just wild.
If this movie had been about like maybe like a cautionary tale of like religious extremism going to a point of literal murder,
which
like,
it definitely could have and maybe should have been.
Yeah.
This movie attempts a handful of jokes, and every time I was like, not the time.
Like, this is not the time, Dave.
Hey, I know. I'm tempted to M. Night, but like, you didn't need to shoot a whole air fryer commercial in the middle. I was laughing really hard at the air fryer, and especially because the camera sits on it for like a full minute.
Yeah. He's real proud of it. That should have just started with someone struggling to like fry something in a pan and then it like going sepia toned or like black and white and like,
has this happened to you?
There's gotta be an easier way. And then it cuts to M. Night with his air fryer.
Yeah. The killing and the dragging, the digging and the burying. Yeah. Like, oh man. Oh, this is a weird movie.
Oh man, but we should go through it scene by scene.
All right, good luck, guys.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. The movie starts with the longest credits we've had in a long time of just creepy drawings.
Yes.
And I'm like, anyone can draw anything.
I wonder if when people do credits like this, it's sort of like James Bond credits. You know how they sort of tell the story of the movie you're about to see, but you don't really know that because there's not enough context
until you've seen
without
it.
knowing the story. I wonder if these opening credits are the same. So like if you go back and watch it again, which I absolutely will not do unless forced, would I see a lot of the movie playing out in those drawings? Like I do wonder if like maybe those were some of the visions that like one of them were like doodling down or whatever.
I think that's absolutely what would happen if you were to rewatch this. I think that's what they were planning on. But with James Bond, it's also got swimmy naked ladies. And so it's a lot easier on the eyes for a full 3 minutes or whatever.
And typically a really great opening song.
Yeah. The world is not enough. Just like craziness. Yes.
What is your favorite opening James Bond song?
Ooh.
I know you love James Bond. The only reason I'm asking this is because I know you have Bond girl paintings on your wall right now.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I've seen them. They're awesome.
I mean, my favorite Bond is 60s and 70s Bond, which is absolutely the most offensive Bond. It's the most sexist, the most misogynist. I realize that it's a contradiction of my person.
Is it because it's a little campy? Like they're a little like campy
yes,
unintentionally?
100%.
That's why I love them. I don't like look at them and I'm not like, oh, James Bond knew how to treat women. Like I think it's silly.
I'm like, can you believe they filmed this?
I know. Can you believe this wasn't a joke? Guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what, like, can you believe he slapped her ass and said man talk and made her leave?
That is literally the example I had in my brain. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But Paige, do you have a favorite song?
Honestly, I think Skyfall might be one of the best ones of all time.
Is that Adele?
Yeah,
yes.
That one's really good.
That one probably is top 3 for me. My favorite is You Know My Name by Chris Cornell.
Oh, geez. That's Brosnan era Bond or Craig?
I think it's one of the Craig ones.
Okay.
I don't even know which movie it was in, but if you listen to the lyrics of that song, it is like perfectly written for
that movie.
Daniel Craig, James Bond.
Oh,
I think it actually might be his first one. I think it might be Casino Royale.
Okay. I also love me some Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die.
Oh,
that song fucking slaps.
Let's do it. Yes, that is really good.
Who's your favorite Bond?
Oh, I think it's Daniel Craig, honestly. My favorite Bond story is the guy who got the one James Bond movie by like being really charming to the director.
George Lazenby.
Yeah.
I think if I had to rank them, Connery is my favorite because that is that era of nonsense.
Yes.
Second for me is Pierce Brosnan. Goldeneye slaps.
It does.
Then I think for me, it's more than Craig than Dalton. I love Daniel Craig in everything that's not Bond.
Oh, like Munich?
Yeah, or like all the Knives Out movies. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah, he's great.
And like, I know Brosnan is also a kind of a more serious Bond, but he's still having fun with it. And I feel like Daniel Craig is never having fun with it.
I like Daniel Craig because he's more serious. I like the more serious dark Bonds.
I don't. I want it funny. I bring back the goofy names.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Bond I want. Like Xenia Onatopp, we still had goofy names in GoldenEye, right? Like,
yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. Anyway, back to this movie.
Yes.
We open on Wen catching grasshoppers, and one of my favorite parts of this movie is her grasshopper chart of like what the grasshoppers are doing and their imagined moods. And she's like, I'm going to name you Caroline after this girl in class, but she farts in class, and maybe don't do that because it's a jar. And I was like, Caroline is a confident queen to just be farting up a storm in class.
Like loudly enough that like everyone can hear. But like, I would imagine Caroline, whose name is spelled very strangely.
Very strange.
Is also 7. So like, I don't know, maybe that happens.
Claim it, Caroline.
Just like look around and be like, yeah, it was me. Y'all saw the skirt move.
Just call it, lift a leg and be like, that one was for you guys. Like, let's go. Saw the skirt move. Oh my God. I will never forget. I was still working at Sur La Table and one of my sales associates came up to me and they were like, I was just helping a woman and she farted in the middle of it and didn't react, but I saw the skirt move and what do I even do? And I was like, how powerful was that fucking fart, man? Like, what is happening?
That is like some natural propellant.
The lady only shopped with us that one time, but I will never forget her. I could pick her out in a lineup.
I would never go back either if I like farted so hard my skirt blew.
Bruh, she farted a lot in that store while talking to all of us and didn't even react. I was like, it feels like you're not even having to push those out. They're just going.
They might have been.
Super healthy, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, while she's playing with grasshoppers, Dave Bautista walks out of the forest. And I immediately was like, run! Because like he's alone. He's giant. I don't know.
Literally by himself, literally 14 feet taller than she is and like 80 feet wider.
She's like 1 apple tall and he's like 270 apples tall. Anyway, he's like, hi, I want to be friends with you. And I was like, no. And
Dave,
she's like, I don't talk to strangers.
Go
and
away.
I was like, run. And he's like, well, we'll be friends. We won't be strangers for long. What? Girl, no, that logic don't logic. Anyway, he helps her catch grasshoppers. And we will find out that he's good at that because he's a second grade teacher.
But also, like, he's got huge hands.
That's true.
That's got to be helpful when catching grasshoppers.
I feel like it would be harder to not kill them if you have the big hands.
I honestly don't know. I haven't read any studies about the relation to hand size and whether you can not crush something when you hold it.
Let me tell you the context and how I formed this theory. My husband is bad with my zippers on my dresses.
Tell me everything.
I love my husband, but oftentimes I have to be zipped into things and he struggles. But it's because his hands are so big and the zippers are so small. And so I would imagine if there was a thing that was killable that was also small and he was just trying to get a handle on it, who's to say what would happen?
I'm literally just picturing Crunk trying to like zip you up.
I made spinach puffs. I can't do a Kronk. I need Jules for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's like, who taught you how to catch grasshoppers? And she's like, Daddy Eric and Daddy Andrew. I have 2 dads. And this is exposition about how I feel about having 2 dads. And I'm going to talk about it for a while for some reason.
Just so we get that she has 2 dads.
We're about to meet them.
I know, literally.
Anyway, we also find out that she's almost 8.
Yeah, she'll be 8 in 6 days.
6 days, and they're going to play the like flower petal game. And he's like, what's your favorite movie? And she's like, Kiki's Delivery Service. Great choice.
And he's like, I haven't seen it. I'll have to check it out. And I was like, when it was revealed he was a second grade teacher, I was like, oh, did he just like lie about that? Because he definitely seen that movie as a second grade teacher.
Yeah, there's definitely a day when he had to sub for somebody
Right?
and they watched Kiki's Delivery Service. But then she pulls the next pedal. Girl after my own heart, and it's just like, why are you here?
Yes, I
There's
love
no
that.
other cabins. There's not a car. I was like, this girl's gonna have a true crime podcast someday.
Yeah.
When she somehow lives down the trauma of what happens to her in the next 2 days.
That podcast called You're Welcome, a subtitle
welcome.
because my dad killing himself more or less saved you all from the apocalypse.
You're welcome. So he's like, no, I'm here to make friends with you and your dads. And he's like, okay, my turn. What's that scar? And it's she had a cleft palate as a baby and had to have surgery to repair it. Honestly, I think it gives a fun, distinct feature to her face.
She's adorable in this movie. Come on now. Yeah.
She's so fucking
Yeah,
cute.
she's awesome.
Man, when she's running, I'm just like, go, Kiki! Go! That's not even her name. But I'm like, run! Yeah. But she sees a bunch of people with ominous, what I will call hillbilly murder tools walking up behind. And what are the tools for other than killing each other?
Nothing. They only use them to kill each other. I mean, I guess that they are sort of weapons you might be able to explain away as tools, so thereby making it less of a threat looking.
And I guess it helps them break in, I guess.
Dave Bautista is Dave Bautista, and that's a wood door. Like,
Yeah, he could just kick the door in.
he could have pushed it in with his bare hands.
Todd,
the back door's like glass. He could have kicked through it easy.
Yes, the back door was a source of, we'll talk about it when we get to the break-in. I was screaming because I was like, the back door.
It's not a house you can lock down. You have to run immediately. That's my point.
They had a chance.
Yeah.
They had a chance to run immediately.
Yeah. You know who can't run very fast? Dave Bautista.
I'm sure he does some cardio.
Oh, I'm sure he can run, but I doubt he can get that body to like 12 miles an hour, and I can sprint around there.
We'll get to it. It's like 2 scenes from now. But he's like, yeah, my friends, we have a job. And when we knock at the door, you got to let us in, okay? Like, tell your dads. And she's like, I'm going to fucking run.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell them because that's terrifying. Bye, large stranger.
Clearly, as a child, even, I'm like, something don't math. She gets inside, and it is clear that this is an Airbnb.
Yeah.
That burns down, and they are not getting their cleaning deposit back. But so she runs in, and her dads are both on the patio. They're already outside, and they're having a cheese plate, which honestly, fucking love. But she's like, hey, there's people coming towards the house. One of them is named Leonard. They want to hurt you. And they then go back into the house to be like, wonder what these people are about. Like, we don't believe her. I was like, your kid just told you there's people coming towards the house that you don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like, fucking run.
Yeah.
You're already outside.
You're so close to the car where the gun is.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you go get the gun. I'm saying you get in the car and leave.
Yeah, get in the car and drive the fuck away.
Only reason to go back into the house was like to get the keys. And I'd have been like, Natalie, get in the car. I'm going to go get the keys, and I would have unlocked it from the house and I would have run back to the car and gotten in myself, like 100%. And then driven away over them if necessary.
I was like, they all have like hillbilly murder machines. And I'm like, have none of you seen Us? Fucking run. That's also a movie that did an alternative home invasion a lot better, was Us.
Yeah.
But that's also one where they're fucking trapped because immediately, so they go back inside and they're at the front door trying to reason with them. And I'm like, the back door is wide open. There's 4 of you. Did nobody just take a walk around the house?
We do see them start walking around the house.
Yeah, way too late. Not until they've already had the chance to close and lock all the doors.
Yeah.
Y'all should have started by walking around the house. Like, what? Do you want to get inside or not?
I do think this right here should have been a tell to the audience that these people didn't have premonitions because there was a better way to go about getting in the house.
Yeah.
They were already outside. They could have walked in the open back door and waited for them inside.
Todd, they knew about the cabin because they posted it in the message boards.
I know.
Which means they could have had the fucking layouts just by Googling it. Type it into Zillow. You'd have the floor plans.
I mean, yeah.
You know where it is. You know what the address is. You know all of the information you need to know the exact layout of this house. Come on.
Yeah. It's almost like it's not well written, Paige.
Yeah, well, yeah, what can you do? But I do love the moment where they're like, I don't know, there's like 4 of them. Who are they? Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, they've got weapons. Oh. And I would have loved a follow-up joke of like, wow, they're getting serious about that conversion shit. Like that's the idea that Jehovah's Witnesses are like, first we asked nicely.
Paige, I also thought it would have been funny if, like, in the response to the, is it Jehovah's Witnesses? And she says, no, they have weapons. And then him being like, good. Like, that's better than just like regular Jehovah's Witnesses coming to your door.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't really feel like hearing about Jesus anyway. Oh, what? They're still going to talk to us about it? Ooh, okay. Rewrite this movie.
Oh, no.
They are Jehovah's Witnesses.
They might be. They never really get into it.
Everything else stays the same.
Yeah.
It'll be nuts. Anyway, they get in because they go through the back door and the windows, and one of them goes through the second floor. Like, they get in.
It's a wood cabin. Dave Bautista could have come in through the wall, Paige.
He
Like,
could have Kool-Aid Man through that wall. That's true.
yes.
Yeah, that would have been great. Him just like Kool-Aid Manning through the wall and then just being like, hi, I'm sorry. I didn't want to have to do this. I wanted to have a rational conversation with you because this is about something I care about, and I'm really not a man accustomed to violence, but sometimes, and you're like, because that's what every one of his monologues sounds like.
Yeah. Occasionally he'll mention that he's a second grade teacher.
Yeah.
And then one time he shows a photo.
Oh.
But other than that, they're pretty much the same monologue 14 times.
14 times? That photo kind of got me, though, because I just pictured Dave Bautista teaching second grade, and I was like, boy, do I want a kindergarten cop sequel with Dave Bautista teaching second grade. Like, that's the movie I want to see, is him, somebody being like, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina, and him being like, you know, gender is a spectrum. Just like calmly talking to the children.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. I know that you might be worried about me because I'm an adult in your life, but I care about you and I'm going to be okay. My job is to make sure you're okay. Like, oh, Kindergarten Cop with Dave Bautista. Make it happen. If we're remaking everything.
Make it happen or deep fake it. Let's go.
Oh, let's go. Or don't deep fake it. You can't use his license without his permission.
Yeah, don't
but
deep fake
just
it.
hire him and write it. Somebody write it.
Somebody already wrote it, Paige. Just like reshoot the movie.
Yeah, that's true. just remake Kindergarten Cop word for word.
Yeah.
With Dave Bautista. Anyway, they have also cut the phone lines, which means that they took the time to cut the phone lines, but not to go around the back.
Yeah.
Guys,
I know.
They're French doors.
I'm definitely checking the back door before I cut the phone line.
Literally, I'm just waiting back there until they distract them at the front, and then I just like, woohoo, walk in the back and be like, I'm in here, guys. Like,
yeah.
Oh, God. Anyway, I did find it really funny that Andrew is very angry that they are now tying them up and everything. And he's just like, get out of our cabin, you piece of crap. And I was like, no adult has said piece of crap in 40 years.
Even I thought it was heartwarming that even during a home invasion, he didn't want to cuss in front of his child.
In front of his little girl.
Get out of here, you potato head.
Get out of here. I'm here to tell you, if I have children ever, or am in the guardianship of children when shit pops off, I'm a swear, and then later we'll talk about it. But in that moment, I'm going to be like, get the fucking fuck out of my fucking cabin, you piece of crap. It was just, I wrote it down because it sounded so strange. It sounded so tame for the situation. It's a fucking home invasion. I'm not going to even remember the word crap exists.
Right?
I'm going to be diving for knives. Anyway.
Facts. Yeah.
Facts. Rupert Grint is also here, which is distracting because he looks like Ron Weasley.
Yes.
And you know what? Here's the thing. He's great in this. He does a great job.
He
To the
does.
point where I was like, why isn't Rupert Grint in more stuff? I don't know. Maybe he's in more stuff in the UK and I just don't know about it. I was not that much of a Harry Potter fangirly. And so maybe I am unaware of his filmography. But I was just like, interesting. Because Daniel Radcliffe has done so much that we just accept that Daniel Radcliffe's a regular actor now. And we forget that he was, Harry Potter forever. But Rupert Grint, I'm just like, Ron Weasley. Like the second I see him in anything.
Every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
So to the point where I have him as Ron Weasley in my notes.
Same.
For most of it. Anyway, good job, Rupert.
Yeah, when he dies, I wrote, oh, I guess Hermione's a widow now.
Oh, well, I think she'll be fine. What's Victor Crumb up to? Oh, he's stuck in a hostel where they ate his legs?
I was going to say, yeah, he got his legs ate last week.
That's not always gonna get 8. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Oh, Victor Crumb is hot. Don't even question me on that.
I don't.
Anyway, Daddy Eric got concussed during the fight. And so the nurse is trying to help him because he's unconscious for a bit. He needs to be in a hospital. He has a head injury.
Yeah, I mean, he fell during the home invasion and is knocked out.
Well, and Andrew has Wen and he's like, take Wen and run.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. And I'm like, you fucking should have, man.
Yeah.
Take Wen and run.
Yeah.
Run. What are we doing? There was a chance even after the time when they all could have run to the car that he had Wen and he could have made a run for it with Wen in his arms. And I think he would have gotten away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I understand that you want to protect and save your partner. I get it. I do. But also you save the kid. You save the kid first every time. Not even a question.
You put the mask on the child before you put the mask on yourself.
You put the mask on the child.
Yeah.
As a parent, that's the kid. And so you fucking run with the kid. And I was
they literally tell you to do the opposite on airplanes, but
whatever. Whatever. The airplanes be falling out of the sky. So you gonna listen to them?
In this movie they do, so no.
You're gonna listen to these people on the ground.
I know.
When all the planes fell out of the sky, I was like, ooh, Boeing's having a bad week.
I was like, this is what happens when we just let Boeing kill all the whistleblowers, allegedly. Planes just be falling out of the sky all the time.
When we get to the planes falling out of the sky, I have a Foley note.
Oh, is it because you hear the screams from inside the plane?
It's that, but specifically, they definitely used roller coaster screams.
Yes, they did.
It was so the plane's going down. And you're like, oh, it sounds like they're having a good time.
I know. Those people are loving this.
I was like, is this from the Big Dipper or one of the Superman ones in Magic Mountain? Because it is absolutely roller coaster screams. And you cannot escape the sound. And they're all horrified. And I'm like, you can almost hear the tracks.
Yeah.
That's how much this is a roller coaster scream. I lost my mind. Anyway, they do get them tied up now that they have his concussion kind of just sort of treated. They just have a Donald Trump ear bandage taped to the back of his head. And then later they give him more gauze. But this is where they're like, okay, my name is Sabrina and I'm here to say I'm a nurse and I'm going to kill every day. They all go through their introduction.
They do. I was like, okay, if you're giving this much level of detail about your life, either you're going to kill all of them or all of us are going to die. I knew at that point, either all 4 of the home invaders were going to get killed some way or that all of the family was going to get killed, because you don't give away that much information and not kill everyone that heard that's not on your side,
Yeah, it's not the corny Collins show where we're going to each introduce ourselves and then dance away. It's madness.
Right.
And I think they do it to be like, see, we're all sane people. I was like, you're not.
No, that made me feel like they were more insane.
Yes. I was like, the fact that you think this is going to comfort us is crazier than everything that's already happened. And not good. But we have Leonard, who's a 2nd grade teacher and bartender because we don't pay our teachers enough. But also, he may be the bartender that's connected to Rupert Grint's character, who works for the gas company but did serve some jail time. And I feel like that's a very potentially valid, if you're putting together an alternate theory of this being a shared delusion where they met on a message board, which Andrew does later, I was like, yes, all of these pieces fit. If I was a police detective, that's how I would.
Right.
That's what I would think was happening. And then Sabrina is just a nurse who stumbled onto the wrong message board. Same with Adrian, who is a line cook. And they're like, okay, so here's the deal. Now that you know a little bit about us, a little bit about me, it's the apocalypse.
That was a fun icebreaker, right, team? So
let's do the human knot. Trust fall.
We're going to go ahead and need one of you to kill the other. But, since there are 3 of you and everyone gets a vote, you guys decide amongst yourselves. And then once you've decided, then one from your family will have to kill whoever y'all decided to kill. Okay?
Right. Okay.
And if you don't do it,
you're going to trust fall into hell.
Yes. Yeah. And if you don't do it, everyone suffers the apocalypse and you 3 will be the only left alive for the rest of time. And I was like, Deal.
Deal.
At that moment, I was like, cool, let's roll the dice on this. Because, like,
cool.
I don't think it's real, obviously.
Right.
But also, if all you're going to do is kill yourselves in front of me, and then the apocalypse might happen, but if it does, I'm guaranteed to survive.
You tied me up, so I can't stop you. Like,
Right?
I could have called 911, but you have tied me up.
But I'm definitely not stopping you from killing yourselves and bringing on the, quote, apocalypse. Because there's no way I'd believe that M. Night would make that what happens in the movie.
Except that that's exactly what happens in this movie.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay, and here's my thing, too, of like, at this point, right, we have no proof it's the apocalypse. None of this makes sense.
Zero.
This is a very far-fetched story. The movie thinks that it proves it. It don't. And when they're telling us at certain points throughout this entire movie, they're like, why? Why do we have to kill ourselves? And they're like, shh, God. And I'm like, that's not an answer. Like, that's not an answer.
But
even the Bible has better answers than that, man. Like,
it is very much that. It is very much the Chris Tucker from God, all right? Like,
God.
It's God.
But here's the thing. I'm like, if you crack a Bible and you're like, when Abraham was asked to kill Isaac, the reasons God gave were like, I want to see if you'll do it to see if you're loyal to me. If I ask you to give up the thing you want most and you do, that means that I know that you would do whatever it takes to do what I want you to do. And even then, God's like, I'm not going to make you kill your kid. That's fucking insane. Like, that's so mean. I would never make you do that. But now that I know that you could, I have great plans for you. But like, so that means even in the Bible, in a scenario like this, they're like, whoa, I'm not going to make you kill your family. It's fucking nuts. So like, it was crazy that this movie was like, God said it, so you're going to have to do it. And I'm like, this seems, I don't, if you go to the text even, like, I don't see any sort of references for this.
I mean, but when was the last time you saw someone who is claiming that kind of shit check the source material page?
Never.
Yeah. So like,
never.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. I watched a crazy movie with a friend a couple weeks ago called The Seventh Seal. That's very much kind of this same idea of like, is the apocalypse coming? What's going to happen? But it was, you have to like prevent them from killing somebody. And it was like a whole thing because this one person was like the key to a prophecy. And it would, but even when it got stuff wrong, it still was like, here's why, here's the thing, here's why it is. And it's like, okay, this movie's not great, but at least I know the plan, maybe. I like this one. I don't even know the plan. I don't even know where you're getting this. What I need is like, if you're going to go biblical apocalypse so that they can be like, see, just like the Bible said. And then you could be like, okay, I can't really explain why the sky is all fucked up and there's a pale horse outside, like,
yeah,
stuff that you're like, fuck, maybe this is real. We never get, we get the like planes falling out of the sky and stuff, but.
Yeah, but they want the news reports to be revelations and they're just not,
And they're just not.
Because those could be pre-recorded and played on the TV just for the people in that room.
100%. And if you wanted them to be revelations, you could absolutely take the book of Revelations and then be like, how do we interpret some of these prophecies modern day?
Yeah.
What does that mean modern day?
There is one, and that's the outbreak virus thing that happens.
Right,
that's one
right.
of the
Pestilence.
interstitials. Yeah. So like that one actually does track, but that was the only one.
Because this is a span of less than a day.
Yeah.
And Andrew brings up, he's like, that outbreak has been out. Like, we've been hearing about this for months, like COVID. And then just within a day, they're like, we have less cases every hour. And I'm like, it would take weeks.
Right.
Weeks to measure this. Like, this cannot be what you're trying to say it is. Anyway, sorry. We gotta get through the movie.
I know.
Anyway, Andrew rightly is like, hey, I think all of you have suffered some sort of psychological break, and this is maybe a shared delusion, and we can get you help. Like, let's call a doctor.
Yeah.
Let's be reasonable. And they're like, no, kill the one you choose. We'll wait. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
And then Dave Bautista is like, we all saw the visions and we couldn't stop drawing. The world will drown because the waters will fist buildings. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, kinky, but what? Like,
he could not wait to talk about the water fist in those buildings page.
The water fist in those buildings, making them buildings what?
Exactly.
But then he's just like, mucus will build up in the. I was like, why are we talking about mucus? And it's just the prophecies, and you're like, at this point in my notes, I just have, God, this is boring. And it's been like a half hour into this movie that is like an hour and 40 minutes long. It's not that long.
I actually found a lot of the scenes where like they're building up to killing one of themselves. I found a lot of them very tense and unnerving.
Yes, they're very well acted.
Yes, they are.
For the source material that is maybe not that great.
Yeah, I don't know what the source material is, unless you're talking about Revelations, and that's not very great. So
No. I meant the script that they made.
Yeah.
The script that someone wrote that they were like, yeah. I read Revelations like 4 years ago. I think I can draw it from memory. Like that.
You know, the famous 4 horsemen of like fire, earth, wind, water, and heart, right?
Wind, water, Captain Planet.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. So we'll just do that or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the 4 horsemen, John, Paul, George, Ringo, got it.
I do like the audacity of like having the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which is like I think predominantly Christian belief.
I've never heard it anywhere else.
And then not having them named the Christian 4 horsemen was a wild swing.
I couldn't believe they were doing it. Anyway, we'll get to that. That's at the very, very end. And I was like, what the fuck are you saying?
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Is it just me, or has TV gotten really complicated lately? Thankfully, Philo can change all that for you. One service, all the stuff you need. Philo's got current seasons of the shows you can't miss, live on networks like A&E, MTV, Discovery, and TLC. Best of all, with Philo, you get all this for just $28 a month. No contracts, no hassles, just one subscription and a world of entertainment. So go to philo.tv and check it out for a free 7-day trial. That's philo.tv to start watching.
Anyway, they're like, make a choice. It'll unleash plagues. And they're like, how about no? At this point, Ron Weasley is just like, no one loves Ron Weasley. And just like sets his tools down, puts a ski mask on, and they kill him. Here's the other thing. This movie doesn't have the fucking balls to show any of the killings.
I was going to say that.
They cut away every time.
One thing I really appreciated about this movie is that they cut away every time, because I found the scenes very tense, but it never got through to like scary because they never showed any of it, really. It's like it's a really tense movie that I find sort of easier to watch than most horror movies because it does that. But I get why people who like horror would be like, man, that was a huge cop-out. You know,
I will make a story argument that we should have seen them because they're seeing them in the movie.
Yes.
Like they're tied to chairs. They're watching it.
They're being made to watch it more or less. I guess they could close their eyes, but like outside of that, it's going on feet in front of them.
Here's my argument. Seeing that signals to them that these people are truly dangerous.
Oh, and serious.
And unhinged.
Yes.
And that, for me, is a level of fear that we needed as an audience to take them more seriously, because whether they are correct or not, they believe it to the point where they'll kill each other, which means that you can't trust them.
Yeah, it does not matter if they're right or not.
Yeah, it does not matter. They are fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
And this movie pulling the punches and not showing some of it at least, because all we see is like, this is the one we see the most of, and it's just the blood dripping down. But that's not enough. Like, we see Dave Bautista as this benevolent character in this movie because the movie is trying to paint him as very sweet and soft. And he does that incredibly well.
He does.
But the reality is he has also killed 3 people by the end of this movie. And like, we need to see that. that this soft man is also incredibly violent in this moment. And that is very scary. And they pull their punches on it, and we don't get the depth of that fear of that character because of it. But our characters in the movie are watching it. They understand it. We need that understanding as the audience. They should have showed something.
I mean, I get that, and I think you're probably right. I mean, I do think most people who like horror movies would have preferred they showed it. It's just, for me, it scares me. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot to see, so I don't like it.
It's supposed to scare you.
Yes, I know. I'm not like I'm saying you're right and I'm wrong, but like because I don't like seeing that stuff, it made the movie more watchable for me, which I think is not a compliment.
No. Well, and for me, it meant that not much was visually, not a lot is happening.
No, you're right.
Which also kind of lends itself to the pacing questions in this movie, where it is a single location, and, all those things. But huge sections of it seem to drag because it's just monologues, just multiple monologues. And then for some reason, weird camera perspective changes with no explanation.
Yeah.
And they only do it for that one. I don't know why they did that.
Me either.
It looked cool.
It did.
Anyway, we get a flashback to them adopting Wen. I think this is actually the second flashback. The first flashback was they were trying to meet Andrew's parents and I think maybe tell them about their relationship for the first time. And Andrew's parents drove 7 hours, stayed for 45 minutes and left. It did not go well.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Eric's parents are like, how's it going?
Yeah.
Clearly more supportive, it's suggested. And this is, I think, trying to feed the narrative that Andrew is just angry at the world because they haven't accepted him for being gay. And I was like,
oh,
okay, but they haven't though.
Yeah. I mean, so wait, whose parents was it that left almost immediately?
Andrew's parents left.
Okay.
Andrew's parents left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it may have made more sense if that was sorry.
I mean, if Josh Gad had been in this movie, that would be fucking wild.
I get them confused, which is crazy, but they were both in the original.
Jonathan Groff.
Yeah. They were both in Book of Mormon together.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, but I think it would have made more sense if Jonathan Groff's parents were that way because he, I think at the end is positioned as he like had more of a relationship with religion. And I think his parents being religious and then reacting to him being with a man that way would make more sense.
But him still being religious would be a more interesting depth of character. Yes, I agree that, yes. But I think this explains Andrew's hesitance to religion. So, like, I think it still works in the sense that, like, perhaps, and we never confirmed this, perhaps Andrew's parents were religious, which explains, because they don't accept him, his kind of resistance to religion, even though Eric still kind of maintains some spirituality, it is implied.
Yeah.
And he did. During Ron Weasley's death, we do see a light behind him, and he thinks he saw a being in that light. It doesn't tell anybody just yet.
Right.
But again, concussed.
Yeah. Head injury.
People do weird things where they're concussed.
Yeah.
Sometimes they murder people. It's, anyway. After killing Ron Weasley, Dave Bautista goes and barfs in the kitchen. Clearly did not want to have to do it, but did it anyway.
I mean, this is going to be a little controversial. I have seen the pictures of Alex Baldwin after he unfortunately shot and killed that cinematographer.
Oh, Alec Baldwin.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, sorry. I said Alex. You're right.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck are you talking about?
Alec Baldwin, when he shot that cinematographer, and he's doing more or less the same thing. Like, he can't stand up. He's like, he's having a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
So whether he wanted to or not, Dave Bautista is reacting very emotionally, I think, to what he had to do. Like, I bought it.
Sure. I think it's a little bit different than Alec Baldwin, who had no intentions to kill anybody.
Oh, yeah, that's what but I mean, like, I do feel like the emotional, like, weight of it.
Yes.
Was very, like, true to what he would actually do.
Being like, oh, fuck, it's real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they clean the cabin and they're like, okay, now we have to show you on the news. But before they do, we get like a minute of M. Night Shyamalan selling air fryers.
Yes.
On an infomercial, which just even listening to it makes me laugh. But here's the thing. It's my favorite M. Night cameo of all time. He's always somewhere.
Yeah.
This is my favorite because it is unfucking hinged.
I think it may be his most screen time cameo, right? Like, he's on there for a while.
No. I think Signs is his most screen time.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. He's got quite a few lines in that one.
Yeah, but holy crap, did this make me laugh.
Yeah.
And laugh at a moment where it's like, look, they just killed somebody. Like, this is very serious. They're about to show us the apocalypse is happening. But instead, he's like, I'm telling you, crispy on the outside. Hysterical.
Yeah.
Maybe he should write a comedy. Has he thought about that?
That would be quite a twist, right?
Oh my God. If they marketed it as a horror and then it was just a comedy, the ultimate twist. That would be, it would be received terribly. People would be so mad.
I couldn't be happier, M. Night.
I would be like, the cojones.
I know.
The cojones.
Like if they had shown you the trailer for Fresh and then you went in and it was just straight up a rom-com like that.
That'd be great. And we're like, where's all the stuff from the trailer? And they're like, oh, it's just on a TV show in the background. Like, we didn't want to give away.
It's really just about a girl falling in love with a guy that just likes to eat ass.
I mean, shouldn't we all be so lucky? Anyway, they turn on the TV. Special report, there was an earthquake 4 hours ago. And I was like, what was 4 hours ago?
And also, there's probably an earthquake every day. Maybe the earth be quaking.
Dude, we have had multiple earthquakes in the last couple days in like the 5.1 to 5.4 range. And the cat senses them. And like to the point where the cat was being real weird. Then we had an earthquake and we were like, oh, And then a couple days later, the cat was being weird again. And I was on a Zoom call for work. And one of the other, my coworkers was like, I'm sorry, my cat's like everywhere today. And like couldn't get a handle on his cat. And I was like, oh, we're probably going to have an earthquake today. And they were like, ha, ha, ha. An hour later, earthquake.
That's crazy.
Like, boom. It was wild.
If I ever move to California, I'm definitely taking all of my cats with me because they are going to be my early warning system.
Yeah, they're like little earthquake sensors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bonkers. It's wild how like attuned they are to it. Nuts. Anyway, that earthquake causes a tsunami, or at least starts to, but it's not big enough to like kill people. And they're like, yeah, no deaths.
It's not going to fist any buildings, right? Like it's not that big.
It's not going to fist any buildings. It didn't lube up and Pringle its hands. Like it's not doing it. Sorry, the look on your face was worth every second of that. And they're watching it and they're just like, why isn't it happening? It's almost like they're mad that their vision didn't come true. And then they're like, and we've got another earthquake that's causing tsunamis in Portland or whatever.
And you're like, oh, wait, what? So the first earthquake tsunami was a misdirect for another earthquake and tsunami? Great twist, M. Night.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a red herring. Okay, no, this is the part that drove me fucking insane. I cannot abide this happening in movies. The news is like, we're cutting to live footage at the scene, and it's clearly someone's cell phone footage of the beach as the tsunami gets huge and crashes over them. But then clearly at the end of that footage, the phone is in the water. It's just gone. That's the last we see of it. How the fuck did they get that footage?
Paige.
How'd they get that footage done?
I know. And you know what I think would have been scarier? Someone who was at the beach waiting for the smaller tidal wave to get there. That is why the news are already at the beach waiting for it to come. And they're a, quote, safe distance away because it's not a huge wave. And then boom, there's this one. It's closer. It's bigger.
Yeah.
And they're stuck on the scene. We see the wave coming in from just like the news anchor's perspective with them on camera.
And take out the fucking van or whatever.
Well, I mean, we just see it coming up the beach and it's looking down on the beach. You see the beachgoers running and then you see the news anchor like also drop their mic and run. And we can assume the camera guy who was behind the camera on a tripod ran away too.
Then drops,
and then we just see it crush the people on the beach and then take that camera out.
Yes.
It would have been a better way to do this. Because that footage is streamed in real time. So, like, that's how they would have had the footage live.
Or with, like, a momentary delay. But then, yes, they would have had that footage live. And it wouldn't have been harder to shoot it that way.
It would have been easier. It's one fixed camera. It would have made the CGI easier. It would have made everything easier.
I could not fathom why they did this way. I was screaming because I was like, you wouldn't have that footage. Unless somebody's live streaming from the beach. But it doesn't have any of the trappings of that.
No.
And you wouldn't be able to get a strong enough signal to do that well. I mean, maybe you could, I guess, but like, just do it with the news. They're already there. I
know.
When I was like, how are they getting this footage? And then when the camera went in the water, I was like, motherfucker, how are they getting this footage? Anyway, they send Wen to her room where she then gets her backpack and is going to try and escape. And they're like, hey, tomorrow morning you can choose the next person. And they're like, a whole day. We didn't plan to have house guests.
I know. We have to worry. Like, our thing ends. Like, our booking for this Airbnb ends in a day.
We have to pull the sheets. We have to, like...
Guys, we can't get hit with that cleaning fee. Your friend's blood is on the floor. What are we doing?
We're going to get so many bad reviews. So at this point, they're like, everyone can die. It's like, unless you make a choice. And then we do get a shot of Eric of him being like, should I do it? Like, me head hurts already. Should I do it? Like, no. We get a flashback to them all singing Boogie Shoes on the way to the cabin and getting out and jumping into the lake. And it's just like, these are the scenes that I'm like, I don't think the intention was to vilify gay people because these scenes are so positive. But then the movie, like, shrug, it's just tone deaf. It doesn't know. I don't know.
I think at the end of the movie, we're supposed to be like, oh, I guess I was supposed to hate when they were like, look at this great family. I guess I was supposed to like be like, well, they shouldn't be allowed to have a family.
I don't even think it's that. I think they're just like, we thought it would be cool for them to be gay and didn't realize that like the flashbacks and including Ron Weasley and then making them get like all of this like falls into this other column of like, this don't look good, guys.
No.
Anyway, we cut to the bathroom where they are treating the concussion. And this is where she's like, look, I understand this sounds crazy, but I am a nurse. And like, here's what happened for me. The vision started and I couldn't get them to stop. And so eventually I just made the weapon as it was shown to me. And then I met up with everyone and they were there. And it was exactly the way that our visions said they would be. And all of it kind of fell into place. We're all on the same side. And he says, no, I'm on my family's side.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, because this could still all be fake. But Wen climbs into the basement and then gets out. And Leonard comes after her. Leonard is Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
And brings her back. And he's like, no one's allowed to leave. And Eric is like, I told her to do it. I'm sorry. And Wen is terrified because it's like, she's kidnapped. I mean, she always has been. But I think now it's like, hey, little girl, this is very real. I mean, you already watched somebody die, but whatever. But then they have a very brief flashback of just the bottle hitting Andrew.
Yeah.
And this is where Andrew's like, I know the guy that they killed. It's the guy that attacked us. And they're like, no, we don't. His name was something else. It was Redmond. That's what he told us. And he's like, can you check their ID? They're like, we're not going to do that. I was like, you're not even curious? Not even a little bit?
Well, and it's Dave Bautista who says that. So if he was the bartender, it would make sense that he knows, quote, Redmond and doesn't want them to check the ID because he knows that's why they picked this couple. That's why they're actually here, all of that stuff. But no, none of that pans out. It's just that God wants them to kill this gay couple's family unit.
I guess.
To stop the apocalypse.
Stop the apocalypse. But this is where the nurse, Sabrina and Adrian start to bring up, they're like, wait a second, he's the one who showed Redmond, the guy who may be attacked.
Yeah.
He's the one who showed us the cabin. Did we have our visions before or after? We all met on a message board. And this is the information that I was like, oh, this is definitely a shared delusion. Like, this is the weirdest QAnon ever, where they might as well be like, if you kill one of each other, then John F. Kennedy Jr. is going to come back. Like, that's what we're dealing with. This is Comet Pizza. Like, this is what we're dealing with. And they're like, go to sleep sitting up tied to these chairs. Nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck sleeping like that.
But this is where Dave Bautista shows the photo of the kids that he coaches. And he's like, I'm doing this for them, basically. We cut to the next morning and there are so many grasshoppers outside. It made me worry it was a plague of locusts, but they never bear that. They could have.
I mean, but that would have been 2 Revelations-ish, I guess.
Well, technically that's Exodus and then it's like a callback in Revelations, but like, I mean, you have them. They're right there.
Yeah. You were
like,
capturing grasshoppers at the beginning of this.
It's a layup.
Yeah.
Come on.
You could be like, oh, that was just like the, I don't know, early arrivers of the locusts, quote, grasshoppers. I don't know. Like,
something.
They're already in the movie.
What if we turn the lake to blood? Like, come on. Like, you got so many options. The Bible's got so much spooky shit. Like, come on.
The Bible is metal as shit when it comes to stuff like that, too.
I know.
Like, turning the lake to blood. Come on.
Let's do that.
Hell yeah.
But Adrian makes Wen breakfast and gives her the whole spiel of like, if you can make an egg great, you can do anything, which I have actually heard from many, many chefs. And I thought was nonsense until I found out that almost none of my coworkers know how to cook fucking eggs.
Wait, I know how to cook eggs, and I don't know how to cook much.
I know, Todd.
That's like one of the first things I learned.
That was the first thing I learned. Absolutely. Now, I will, the chefs that have talked to me about it are like, yes, but could you cook it perfectly to these specifications? I'm like, no, and that is amazing.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no. But I can make myself some scrambled eggs or like eggs over easy or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, I was at a work thing and like we were all talking and I said something about like, yeah, you know, I was telling them about how I make my own ricotta and they're like, why? And I was like, I love having it around the house. It's delicious. I put in my eggs every morning. They were like, you eat eggs every morning? I was like, yeah, pretty much. Like most of the time. And they're like, you cook eggs every morning? I was like, yeah, you have to cook them before you eat them. They're eggs. And they were like, that's insane. I can't even imagine doing that. And I was like,
It
what?
doesn't take a super long time. Like, although I'll say this.
It's like 5 minutes.
Yeah, like eggs are pretty quick, but I wouldn't do it either. It's just too much work for me in the morning. I do a peanut butter waffle and I'm off to work.
I find it very meditative. And that could also be because I work from home.
Yeah.
It's part of my like, I get up, I have like a series of tasks that I do in order to make my breakfast with eggs. And then I sit down and I eat my breakfast with eggs. And I like really enjoy it. But it don't take that long. The whole process takes like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like eggs are fast and easy to clean up. It's wild to me. Anyway, if you can make an egg, you can do anything.
I feel like this part of the show was sponsored by Big Egg, and Paige is
Big
not cutting
Egg.
me in on the money. She's been sponsored by them.
Big Egg. Do you need a breakfast that is yellow or orange if you paid more money for the fancy ones? Egg. Put it in your mouth.
Yes, Paige.
Anyway, Gwen's a very polite little girl, but she steals a knife from the breakfast and gives it to Daddy Eric so he can try and cut his restraints. And this is when Daddy Andrew is just like, hey, you guys are in an echo chamber on this message board where you've kind of fed the delusions. And
Yes.
again, I think that would have been a better ending, but fine. So he's trying to cut through his restraints and he's like, hey, remember what you did at Thanksgiving? I'm gonna need you to do that when I nod, okay? Wink, wink, wink. But Adrian is next because they still have not chosen which one of them will die. And Adrian's like, I have a son. His name is Charlie. He likes pancakes. And they're like, I don't believe that shit. And I'm like, why don't you lie about that?
I fully believe her. And I love what Jonathan says, who is Eric in this movie. Daddy Eric says, you can just like walk right out of
You
here
can
right
leave.
now. Like, and that's what I mean, I would have been saying those things too. Cause like, I fully don't believe the apocalypse is going to happen if I don't kill my husband, you know,
Right.
or child or whatever. Like that's insane. So have fun killing yourself. I'm going to be over here waiting to inherit the earth.
Yeah. Anyway, so they cover Gwen's eyes and ears and she puts on the hood and it's a part of humanity has been judged. She dead. They carry her in a blanket to the other room. I was like, you got to put her outside like Rupert Grint and leave her to the bears because that's going to smell up that house.
Yeah.
You'll never get that smell out.
What I don't get is why they had to kill themselves in a certain order or at all.
None of it's explained.
Because if it was that if I don't kill myself, something bad will happen,
Right.
that I guess makes sense. But it is positioned like their deaths start the next chain in the apocalypse.
Yes.
So why would they, who are doing this to stop the apocalypse, want to kill themselves to start the next chain in it? I don't, like, none of that makes sense to me.
Todd, these are logic questions for a movie that is illogical.
Yeah.
Because also, the Four Horsemen arrive in stages. Like, if we're doing a Four Horsemen thing, it would almost be better if they were, like, home invaded, they're tied up, Gerald's Game style, so they can't get out or whatever.
Right.
And multiple people arrive at the house and try and convince them. And each one of them then takes their own life or something, like, where they do it in stages. The fact that it's a group of them and a shared delusion that they have all talked actually makes it worse. If it was one at a time and you're like, wait, these people didn't know each other or did they know each other? Like, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this.
I like the way you just positioned because the Dickens of it all, like that'd have been great.
Yes, Jacob Marley, chains. Yeah, like it'd be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adrian's dead. And he's like, all right, put on the TV. And this is the virus one, which again has been going on for months. It's not something that you can measure in like a matter of hours.
I felt very hurt that M. Night was like, this is going to be a worldwide virus, so let's pick like 3 cities, but make one of them Nashville because I hate it.
Nashville, Edinburgh, and what was the third one?
I don't know, but I love both of those cities.
There you go.
But yeah, Nashville came down with the sickness or whatever overnight. So now they're reporting it like it's brand new news, even though it's been going on for months. That's why I think this is like pre-recorded. Like,
Down with the sickness.
exactly.
Yes. So at this point, Eric is like, okay, but like, maybe I did see something in the light when we killed Ron Weasley. And Andrew is just like, look at me. You have a severe fucking concussion. You're sensitive to light. So like, I've been reading about this for months. In fact, we talked about it. So like, this is pre-programmed. This is a story. Like, there are so many things to make this not a thing. And then he says, I'm clear-headed now, always together, as he cuts the last rope on his hands and nods to Wen, who is like, I want to watch Paddington, and just screams. I was like, yes, girl, we all scream for Paddington.
Yo, she lost her mind.
Good for her. That bear is worth it.
I was like, wow, how bad was it at Thanksgiving? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. But
know.
also, hey, you know what? Sometimes kids don't care that it's Thanksgiving.
Or that you're being home invaded.
Yeah, Paddington trumps all. But I love that Dave Bautista's like, okay, we're going to count down from 5 together. And she's like, no.
Yeah.
Done. They both get untied. Andrew gets outside. He gets to the car. But Sabrina, the nurse, has followed him. She like bashes his knee with that hammer. That's rough.
Yeah.
But he manages to get the gun. And as she's like trying to get into the car, she's like, we have to make the decision to save the most lives. It's like triage. And then he shoots a warning shot at her. I don't know why he does. He could have just taken her out.
I definitely would not have wasted a bullet in this moment.
Me neither. Her head is right there.
Exactly. I would have wasted a shitload of bullets when I knew he was behind the shower curtain. I would have wasted a ton of bullets in that moment.
Yeah. Well, and she's like stabbed him in the side too. Like, it's not good.
Oh, and she's like pushing, yeah. Ooh, that scene was pretty tense.
Fucking shoot her.
Yeah, shoot her in the face.
Shoot her.
Yeah.
Anyway, the wind blows as she like runs away, almost as if it's like, oh, you're not supposed to leave or whatever.
Or like The Happening.
Why is it always starting in the parks? You know what? If I was in the apocalypse, it never would have happened. I could have tackled the apocalypse. I would have saved that plane.
None of those planes would have fallen out of the sky if he was in them, Paige.
If I was in him. Oh, God. Anyway, he goes back inside and he kind of threatens Dave Bautista and he's like, drop the weapon and move away. And he's like, no. And he's like, it's time for the next sacrifice. He's like, no, me and my family are going to fucking leave.
Yeah.
But who should come running back into the house? Sabrina. And he just shoots her. He takes her down. And then Dave Bautista has to finish her off.
Yeah.
But we cut back to a flashback where they're in the club and they're giving each other feedback the way you would do in therapy. And they're like, okay, well, I think we are ready to be parents or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of the things they bring up is they're like, I think you have a temper. And I was like, every piece of temper I have seen from him has been justified. So like,
yeah, I don't think he ever acts like out of line.
no.
Not that I could remember anyway.
Yeah, but they're just talking at a normal volume, and Rupert Grint's character from off camera is like, keep it down, and you're being loud, and they're like, are we being loud? They clearly are not.
No.
You know?
It's because they're together and
Yeah.
they're talking about whether they're ready to be parents together.
Yes.
And fucking Ron Weasley is a bigot.
Yeah, but he gets him with a bottle, and then they get him again. And we cut to him having surgery and then him boxing to try and like recover from it and purchasing a gun. Like, he clearly went through dealing with the trauma of that night in a way that I think is completely normal and rational.
He was the victim of a hate crime, a literal hate crime, Paige.
A literal hate crime. And this movie is just like, he can't get over it. I was like, yeah, no shit. Like, what?
Yeah. He definitely reacts in a way that I feel is real. I don't think necessarily it's the right way to handle it, but I would not be shocked if someone handled it this way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
100.
I would prefer he not buy a gun and he go to therapy.
I think that probably also happened and we just didn't see it in the movie.
Sure. Yeah.
The way they talk suggests that there was some therapy involved, but like,
that's fair. Yeah.
You could go to therapy and also be a responsible gun owner.
Yeah.
Just be a responsible one. Anyway. So while Dave Bautista is handling Sabrina's body, he goes out and checks the ID, and it is the guy.
Yeah.
It is absolutely the guy from the bar. And he's like, here's what I think. You're a bartender. You knew him. Like, this is what happens. They slashed our tire. It was about us.
Yeah.
But they back Leonard into a bathroom. And then they hear glass shattering and they're like, oh no, he's outside. It's Schrodinger's bathroom. Is he inside? Is he outside? And they're like, if you're inside, I'll shoot you. They open that door and that bathroom window is so fucking tiny. He couldn't fit a leg through it. Like, why they're even questioning if he's still in the bathroom or not. I was like, is everyone concussed? There's no way he fits through that tiny circle window.
Paige, I also agree there's no way Dave Bautista could have fit through that window without breaking it significantly. But I would have really found it funny if when he's like pushing in on the shower curtain, he actually puts a bullet through it. I would have loved it if he opened the shower curtain all the way and it was just like a Dave Bautista size hole in the wall.
Kool-Aid Man hole?
Yeah, like he closed it and then jumped through the wall. I'd have lost my fucking mind.
Well, and he does shoot him in the arm. Like, he does catch him in that shower.
He does, because he puts a bullet through the shower curtain. And this is the moment where I would have wasted all of my bullets.
Yeah.
Because if, not all, but I would have wasted a bunch. Because he is either there or outside.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure he's not there, which turns out to have been a mistake to not do that because Dave Bautista busts out and grabs him.
There's no way he couldn't have been there. That window is fucking tiny.
Exactly, like, Paige. I agree.
Unload that clip, man. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, they turn on the TV and now multiple planes are falling out of the sky because they have like a fight with Dave Bautista and it ends in kind of like a standoff. And over 700 planes have crashed. And they're like, is this a coordinated cyber attack? And he's like, this could be terrorism. And they're like, but the timing.
The Page, his when they were like, could it be a coordinated cyber attack? He more or less is like, yeah, from God.
Here's how skeptical I was at this point in the movie. Because the news they're playing is like Kirkland brand news. It's like no name news with a person we don't recognize. If they were like, CNN, they were like, planes are falling out of the sky, I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah, if that was like fucking Jake Tapper or some shit, I'd have been like, oh, wow, okay.
What the fuck is happening? Right? Even Fox News, I'll take Fox News in this moment because at least it's news, right? I mean, normally, but you know what? In this moment, sure. But here's the craziest part. It's shot like, you know, when you're on like watching TV late at night, on a channel that old people watch. And it's like, breaking news, you can get catheters at half the price by ordering from whatever. And they've like framed it like a news thing, but it's just to sell something. Or like, breaking news, Toyota of Emerson is having the biggest sale.
What you're referring to is a commercial, Page.
Yes. That's what it looks like. And so I'm just like, I don't believe this shit for a second. I need you to get me a known anchor talking about this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was no one at any news free for an M. Night Shyamalan movie? They're already in a studio. Just film it.
Yeah. It might have been easier to like call a Fox News or a CNN or an MSNBC and be like, hey, we need someone to fill this role.
Yeah.
Who wants to like read for it or whatever. And you would probably get a few anchors that were like, I'll do it. It's like a days of work. It's like a day of work in a movie. I'd do it.
It's like an hour of work. Here's the other thing. I don't even care if it's a no name. Slap a logo on it. You couldn't get a logo?
That's right.
What studio released this movie? They all own a news outlet. Slap a fucking logo on it.
The fact that there isn't a logo makes it seem like that news anchor that we're watching is actually just in like someone's basement.
Yes.
And they've painted the wall like behind them. And it's like, it's so, if you think about it, you could green screen it and like it would look the same.
This is what I'm saying.
So like that is even more like, oh, this is all made up. Like it's not actually happening.
Thank you.
700 flights. That's probably twice as many flights as are in the air at any one time.
Right.
And then I looked it up because I wasn't sure, Paige.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Tell me everything.
And it's like thousands of flights in the air. Thousands.
Yeah, I figured it was a lot of flights in the air.
I know. I looked it up and I was like, oh wait, yeah, of course there are other countries than America.
There's a whole world of flights. Yeah.
But it's like thousands and thousands and thousands. It's so many.
I know comedians that have their own fake news shows on YouTube that are more realistic looking than this news lady. yellow and red. Whose colors are those?
Get Cody Johnson in this movie and just call it Some More News.
Yeah.
And it would have been great.
Todd, you with the things you have in your home and me reading the news at a clip could make these fake news footages immediately.
There's literally a camera right now I could shoot it on, and I can grab the teleprompter that's at my feet.
Yeah.
Like, I could do that. I do that for a living sometimes.
But this is why, and he like has memorized the thing, and they're like, how did he know the words the news lady was going to say? I was like, because this isn't a news lady we know, and it's not on a channel I've ever heard of.
Because this is his wife,
yes!
and they recorded this a week ago, and his graphic design friend fell through. So there's no logo for this made-up basement news show.
Yeah. Anyway, so at this point, Andrew's like, cool, I'm gonna, like, you slashed our tires, but, like, you had to come here in some sort of truck, so where is it? We're gonna find it and leave. He won't tell them.
And it's Dave Bautista, guys, so it has to have been an 18-wheeler. Like, they're looking for a big truck.
They're looking for Optimus Prime.
Bautista bot, roll out.
Yeah. And they're like, do you think it's all a coincidence? And he's like, yes, I think you have engineered all of this.
Yes.
And he's like, well, I'll show you. I'm going to go out to the back patio and deliver another monologue and then slit my own throat.
We've all been there, Paige. We've all been there.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Jesus.
Not really.
But I do appreciate, again, that when he goes out there and delivers the monologue, which, again, he's not bad. Like,
he's doing a great job.
He's doing
good.
But it pushes in on him, like, from his chest down, which I do think they left in the shoulders for you, Paige.
Oh, thank you.
But
I appreciate it a lot.
he clearly is slicing his own throat, and then you see blood sort of pour down a little bit, but that's it. Like, there's not much to it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Which, again, I appreciate. Thank you. But I understand why a lot of people who love horror don't like that part of this movie, or that element of this movie.
Anyway, literally the second he slits his throat, a huge storm appears over the cabin, and we watch a plane fall out of the sky in the background. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, this shit's real?
This is the point of the movie where I was like, oh shit, M. Night might hate gay people. Like, that's when I started Googling it.
Right.
And I was like, is M. Night like a crazy right-wing Republican guy? Like, I just hadn't, I was so blown away that this is what he wanted the movie to be, because you could have at this point had them walk into town and been fine, and then shown them with the police and stuff like that. And then they sort of reveal how it all happened, right?
Right. They Kaiser Soze it.
Yes. And that would have been the reading of this movie if you're like, man, religious extremism can get bad, and this is like a cautionary tale.
Or echo chambers and message boards can get bad. Like, call it whatever you want, you know?
That's a different form of religious extremism in my mind. Their religion is Andrew Tate or whatever,
there you
know?
go.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just crazy. But yeah, like extremism in any form maybe is a better way of saying it, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 100%. But no, M. Night was like, no, it's a sin to be gay, and God's real in this universe, so that's it. Okay.
Well, but then we get this scene where we get like a flash forward to Andrew and Wen surviving, and I gotta tell you, he is a silver fox in that flash forward. I was like, yes, ma'am. I know he don't play for my team, but good for his team for having a crack at that. Like, oof. Anyway, and Wen's all grown up. She's a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Great. But then he's like, this wasn't a home invasion. I think families have been doing this for a long time. And he's like, we got to know them. They were the four horsemen. He says, all aspects of humanity, malice, nurturing, healing, and guidance. And I'm like, those are not the four horsemen. Like, you fundamentally misunderstand the four horsemen.
Right.
So don't call them that. Call them something else. Call them witnesses. Call them prophets. I don't care. But don't call them a thing that has documented things. Like, this is nonsense.
Because you can just Google it, and it's definitely conquest, war, famine, and death, guys.
Yeah, it's not those things.
And if you're like, Todd, you only know that because you Googled it. Yeah, exactly. It's that easy to know that.
Anyone could have Googled this in any point of time.
This movie came out in 2023. Anyone could have Googled it back then.
Crack a Bible. I don't, whatever. Like, but.
No.
Oh, God.
It's wild to me. That's why I was like, oh, wait, were they summoning Captain Planet? Like, that is not the Four Horsemen.
No, it was making, like, my blood was boiling. I was like, what are we doing here? And if they had been the Four Horsemen and you had found a way to represent that in a modern context, that would have been kind of fucking cool. But that's not what it is.
Nope.
Anyway, at this point, Jonathan Groff is like, I am at peace with being the sacrifice if it means...
Well, he saw that vision that we saw of, his daughter growing up and his husband moving on. And like,
he saw the vision and he saw a plane fall out of the sky.
Yeah. And is concussed, mind you.
Very concussed.
So like...
But he's like, I'm okay if it means that you two get to live. That is worth it to me. Which honestly is why Andrew should have run with Wen in the first place, because he's a parent and cares. And yeah, most parents, I think, would be like, take her and run.
Yeah.
But Andrew's like, no. And at this point, after you've seen the planes fall out of the sky and the storm immediately appear and the lightning and shit, you gotta kind of like the fact that Andrew's still like, no, we're gonna leave. And I'm like, we're gonna die in that lightning. So maybe if we're going to die anyway, maybe try shooting him first and see if it stops all the stuff. Because, like, it's going to be bad. Anyway, they fight over the gun. It goes off.
Yeah.
It kills Jonathan Groff. He climbs up to the treehouse to get Wen.
Which I think Jonathan Groff was going to do anyway.
I think so too. Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was Andrew's fault for what happened. You know what I'm saying?
No, of course not.
Like, I think it was just, he was trying to stop him and it went off kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think he wanted to say goodbye and that's why he didn't do it while Andrew was still outside.
Yeah. It's all very, very sad. Although, if you are living in the world this movie creates, I understand why he makes this heartbreaking decision.
100%.
And Jonathan Groff is great. He's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
So, like, he crushes the emotional weight of the scene is great.
But yeah, so Wen and Andrew escape, they find the truck. It's Ron Weasley's truck, and it has everyone's bags in it, and they go through their stuff and find framed photographs.
Yes. Which is also something that has always bothered me about the Nickelback photograph video. But like, why would you pack a frame? It was crazy.
This is what, like, you'd crack the glass and then all of a sudden your clothes have a ton of glass in them. I've never packed a framed photograph ever in my entire life, and I travel a lot.
Or the only reason I could see that is like his pager went off and he was like, oh shit, we got to go now.
Right.
And so he was just like bringing stuff with him that he knew he wanted to have in his last days.
Yeah, I guess.
But like, you don't do that in the real world.
No, it's positioned in the movie of like, see, it was all real. They were all telling the truth.
Of course it was all real, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. I saw a plane fall out of the sky. Anyway, they get in the car and what plays but Boogie Shoes.
Of course.
Yeah. And they turn it off. She turns it back on.
Yeah.
They turn it off. She turns it back on. They drive away.
It's very sad. I was having a hard time.
It's very sad.
I was very sad. Because this is the song we saw them like really like having a great time singing on the way to the cabin.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
But it still slaps. Great song.
It still slaps. Great song. They end up at a diner where people are alive. So they're like, okay, not everyone died. And on the news, it's like all these things just stopped happening conveniently for this plot. And we're reporting on all of them from the same fake news station. And they're just like, yay.
And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, Paige, what did you think about Knock at the Cabin?
I feel like I've screamed about this enough a bit, maybe.
I think the same. I feel like we both didn't care for this movie very much.
Sure.
I actually am interested to read reviews about it because I literally just finished it before.
Right.
And in fact, I had to push back when we recorded because I had some work I had to do this morning and wasn't able to get it done in time. So I literally finished just now. But I really do sort of want to go online and see what the reviews have been saying because I found it almost offensive.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I mean, it's a little crazy. Like it's a swing. It is definitely a twist. But I feel like the joke was played on me. It wasn't a twist I enjoyed watching.
Yeah.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
Sure, I have some.
Well, here it is with your fun facts. Jesus, fun facts.
So M. Night Shyamalan actually specifically reached out and cast Dave Bautista after seeing him in Blade Runner 2049, which is a fucking great movie.
He's good in it. He's not in it very much, but yeah.
And he's good in it. Honestly, Dave Bautista's good in this. It's just a weird fucking movie. Yeah. But he did great. But he cast him because he needed a big guy who could emote.
Yeah.
Now, this is kind of a fun one. At the premiere for some cinemas, when you went to go see the movie, you were asked to give up something that you cared for the entire duration of the film in exchange for a gift at the end. And if you chose yes, they took your smartphone and bagged and sealed it. And by handing over the still sealed envelope at the exit, you received a prize. And the initiative read, make your choice. You would give up one of the things you care about the most for the duration of the film, prove it, and your sacrifice would be rewarded. And they got like gift cards and shit, which I think was just a way for them to be like, turn your fucking phone off.
Yeah.
But like, now this is based on a novel, the 2018 novel, The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which... Do you want me to spoil it for you? If you want to read this book and you don't want it spoiled,
skip like 30 seconds.
Yeah, skip like 30 seconds because I know Todd don't fuck with books.
No.
So everything proceeds as normal, as we saw in the movie, until the following day when they're going to sacrifice Adrian. Andrew escapes the cabin and retrieves the gun from the car before Adrian's death. He then kills Adrian, but during a struggle with Leonard over the gun, Wen is accidentally shot and killed. Devastated,
What?
Leonard allows himself to be tied up by Eric and Andrew, but he says that Wen's death has not stopped the apocalypse because she was not a willing sacrifice. Either Eric or Andrew still must die. Eric is conflicted about whether it's true. Andrew insists that it's coincidental. Sabrina still describes how she and the other visitors were led by visions and compulsions to find each other online, but after Wen's death, she wants to abandon her task. She kills Leonard and offers to lead Eric and Andrew to Redmond's car. The TV shows 7 instead of 700 spontaneous plane crashes around the world, seemingly predicting the sky falling. The couple follow Sabrina into the forest, taking Wen's body. Sabrina recovers a car keys and a gun that Redmond hid. She tells Eric there's still time to prevent the apocalypse, and then she unfortunately dies by suicide before she can be further compelled. Eric considers taking his own life, but Andrew argues that even if the apocalypse is real, he refuses to obey a god that does not accept Wen's death as enough. They decide that neither wants to leave the other alone by dying, so they head for Redmond's car with Wen's body, deciding to stay together through whatever comes. That's the end of the book.
Love it.
So the fact that they changed it in such a bizarre way for the movie, I mean, this would be a downer. It's probably a studio note that they changed it.
Yeah.
But sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, this was shot with lenses from the 1990s to give it an old school look. That doesn't really show up on the screen, by the way.
That's interesting, though.
The initial screenplay draft for this was voted onto the blacklist in 2019 as one of the most popular unproduced screenplays of the year.
This is not the first blacklist script that has not been a great movie.
They've let us down a couple times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
This is M. Night Shyamalan's first R-rated film since The Happening.
Wait, this was R?
Yeah, I guess. Well,
why?
And they don't even show the killing. I know. But originally this was set to release in February of 2023 before being pushed forward 2 weeks to avoid competition with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which came out in 2023 as well. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget for Knock at the Cabin was? And this came out in 2023, as you just mentioned.
You know, it is a single location. You do have some names in it, but not a ton.
Yeah.
I would say this is maybe a $10 million movie. If it's more than that, that's offensive.
Paige, much like Bon Jovi, you're halfway there. It was $20 million. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the movie did come out, as you mentioned, on February 3rd, 2023. It was number 1 the weekend it came out, so it was probably a good choice to start it earlier as opposed to being up against Ant-Man. But it was number 1 that weekend. It beat 80 for Brady was number 2. Number 3 was Avatar: The Way of Water. Number 4 was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Number 5 was BTS: Yet to Come in cinemas. So that was your top 5 that week. But Paige, what do you think Knock at the Cabin brought in its opening weekend?
I know a lot of people went and saw this. I'm going to say opening weekend, it made $18 million.
You're close, actually. It was $14.1 million. In its second weekend, it was in more theaters, not a lot more, but a little bit more. It was in more theaters, though, and it went from first to sixth.
Oh, jeez.
It dropped like a rock.
This was not in theaters for very long, too. I remember that it seemed like it was there and then it was gone.
It was in theaters for 6 weeks total.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was out pretty quick. So it definitely made quite a bit less in its subsequent weeks. But what do you think it made domestically at the box office?
Let's see. 6 weeks, lower returns each week. I'm going to say this skates out of domestic box office with 40 mil.
You're close. It was actually 35.3 mil, though.
I'm on a roll today.
It also made 19.3 internationally for a total of $54.7 million. So it did make money. You know, if you combine those, definitely made more than $20 million. So it did make money. But that's your box office. Paige, you want to hit us with that scary scale, though?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found this movie today, with 1 being Ghostbusters and 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd, where are you going to rank this film?
I'm going to give it a 3. I do think it would have been closer to like a 6 if they had shown them actually taking their own lives or being killed by the members of their party, you know, that come to home invade. But there was a lot of tension in those scenes where they're building up to kill like Ron Weasley, you know, and those kind of things. So like it was scary for me, but it could have been way scarier.
I'm going to give this a 1. I was frankly bored and then frustrated. So yeah, this is a 1 for me.
That's fair. Yeah, so Paige, this week you made us watch Knock at the Cabin. What are you making us watch next week?
Next week is listener request. So you guys are going to tell us what it is and we will post it.
Yeah.
It could be either Summer Vacation or Getting Dicks Ripped Off.
That's right. So in their infinite wisdom, the listeners whittled down their choices for their summer vacation horror movies to the following choices: 47 Meters Down, In a Violent Nature, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and The Final Girls. And The Final Girls won. So the movie for next week that we will be watching is The Final Girls. And oof, we just recorded that episode. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. But that'll have to wait till next week.
Todd, do we have any reviews or Spotify comments?
Yes, and this week I'm going to read one of our Spotify comments that came in on our Piranha 3 Double D episode. Okay, so this one's from Must Love Comics, and they say, if I had a nickel for every time David Koechner gets decapitated at the end of a horror movie, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
It happened twice.
And I think that is very funny.
What's the other one?
I don't know, and I refuse to look it up in the moment.
Dude's been in a fair amount of horror movies. Anyway, it is weird that it happened twice, though.
Yeah. But if you want to have me read your 5-star review or Spotify comment, leave us a 5-star review or Spotify comment, and I'll do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast, some might call it a sister podcast, called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys.
Bye.
Bye. This movie has weird values, nerds.